Hey everybody, welcome. Shabbat Shalom to those still in Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. I hope everybody's doing well. It's your bro, True Jew, your Ak, True Jew, coming at y'all again. You know, it's been a minute, haven't it? It's been a quick minute, but we back again. We maintaining and campaigning. Right. Thank you to all the new supporters of the channel, and thank you to all the new views and moments of watching and taking time to watch and tap in with me. I really appreciate you. And we doing this service and work for the Most High. And to usher in this new kingdom, and we have to stay as consistent as possible. Okay, we have to stay as consistent as possible, and we want to, like I always say, we want to be able to use our gifts, talents, and our skills that the Most High blessed us with in a way where we have service. We wanna maintain our servitude, and we want to get creative, and we want to be able to provide a variance of different things that we have been blessed to do. We don't want to be like that servant who sat on the talent that he was given or that she was given and didn't multiply those talents before the return of the master. And so what we want to seek to do is use as many of our gifts and talents as possible to push forward the message of truth. Okay, so I truly appreciate all the new support as well as all of the original support of this channel. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on growing. We're going to keep on living. Everybody alive ain't living. And we want to be able to find that balance. We want to be able to find the ability within to continue to be that light, continue to be that reflection of love that the Most High has extended to us, continue to live in a way where we can extend that mercy and grace that we ourselves hope to attain and receive from the Most High, because there is a point in time when we were definitely transgressing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. There was a time when we definitely didn't know who we were and what our calling and purpose was, and we was lost in the sauce for real. So it's time to redeem the time, as the scriptures say, now that we have been awakened out of our slumber, right? And so we want to make sure that as we redeem the time, we're careful to remember our previous estate. We're careful to remember how we used to think, how we used to walk, how we used to talk, and we do our best to reflect the newness of our mind, the newness of our heart, because the heart and the mind, from a Hebraic standpoint, is one and the same. And what the theme is that I've been slowly integrating into the channel from an obvious perspective is to put emphasis on that Hebraic mindset. Being in this captivity, wherever we are in the four corners of the earth right now, has really caused us to forget what it means to think Hebraically. Okay, we can know that we Hebrew Israelites. We can know that we are the tribe of Judah, Yaibada. We can know that we are the tribe of Ephraim. We can know that we are the tribe of Manasseh. All these different tribes. We can know we're the tribe of Benjamin. Whatever tribe that we come from and that we descend from and that we are part of, we can know this. But what does it mean to be a part of that tribe and a part of this true Yashral nation, this Israel nation, and not have a Hebraic mindset? We have to remember that even though we are Israelites, we are still part of the Hebrew family, the greater Hebraic family, which includes Ishmaelites, okay, which also includes Edomites, okay, and Ishmaelites would be Arabs. Edomites can be anyone from the African Edomitic groups that are alive right now, as well as those who left the continent and migrated into Europe and now have extensions of family in Europe right now that don't necessarily even look like they might be descended of Hebrew people. Okay, they might look more Japhetic or more European, but they are still part of the Hebraic family. And so, what we have to do is allow the Most High to be the one who has the final say in how he dispenses that judgment, how he dispenses that punishment, how he dispenses and metes out the different right rulings that he has for all people. However, as Israelites, we've been given to be ambassadors to the world, ambassadors of the Most High to the world, in order to showcase the truth of the law, to showcase the truth of Torah, and to live within that divine and set apart or Kodesh constitution. Okay, we live at a time right now where I think the lawlessness of time, the lawlessness that was prophesied to take place, that was beginning in the days after Hamashiach, transcended up, okay, after the crucifixion. That lawlessness that was prophesied to come is definitely here. Is it at its absolute climax yet? Not necessarily, but this is why grace and mercy has been extended to so many people today. Because as that lawlessness begins to climax, we're going to see even more depravity. We're going to see even more evil. We're going to see even more wickedness. We're going to see the removal of the prophets. Being able to come to you like on these live streams and be able to stand on the corners and the streets and the highways, the hedges, the byways, and you're going to see a removal of that latter rain. Okay, right now we are definitely in the latter rain. Okay, the scriptures prophesy that before the return of the king, there will be a great dispensation of the truth one last time. Okay, and this is in an attempt to wake up all of the remaining lost sheep of the house of Israel, and as well as to extend the truth unto the Gentile nations who, in sincerity and truth, are looking for the word of life, okay, or who are looking for the truth. Now, I know we have many different frames of thought when it comes to the Gentiles, when it comes to what their role will be in this end time, and that can be a different lesson. We've talked about that before to all of the new supporters of the channel. However, that also is a significant aspect of what we need to be talking about, because when we have hatred toward another, regardless of their place in history, regardless of their place in society right now, when we take on that hatred, it keeps us from being able to live the way that the Most High have asked us to live. Okay, and like we just mentioned in the book of James, where we talk about receiving the mercy and grace of the Most High, but also extending that same mercy and grace, okay, to others. The fruits of the Spirit is as referred to us in Galatians chapter, what do we want? Galatians chapter 5. Let me get it real quick so we can have an actual identification of the fruits of the Spirit again for those who might not be aware of that. But the fruits of the Spirit, as given to us in the book of Galatians, do not refer to hatred. Okay, when we walk in the Spirit, yeah, Galatians chapter 5, verse 16 down, and I say, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not accomplish the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are opposed to each other, so that you do not do what you desire to do. But if you are led by Spirit, you are not under Torah. Now, we'll get into that at a later time, but we're always under Torah. Okay, now when you're in the Spirit, you automatically do Torah. You automatically keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, so that's where most people misconstrue that statement as if, oh, well, if I'm walking in a renewed spirit, well, then I don't have to live in Torah. No, when you walk into a renewed spirit, Torah comes naturally. Torah is going to be kept whether you like it or not because you live in a renewed spirit. Okay, and we're gonna continue to drill the importance of Torah home. That's what the emphasis on this lesson is all about. Actually, strong delusion is contagious, and it's contagious for a reason. But when you live in the spirit of the Most High, the set apart spirit, the Ruach Hakodesh, then you are automatically going to be keeping Torah, because Torah is the constitution of the Most High given to us in order to adhere to. Okay, but let's let's because that's a good one. Okay, so but if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under Torah. And the works of the flesh are well known, which are these: adultery, whoring, uncleanliness, indecency, idolatry, drug sorcery, hatred, okay, quarrels, jealousies, fits of rage, selfish ambitions, dissensions, factions, envy, murders, drunkenness, wild parties, and the like, of which I forewarn you, even as I have also said before, that those who practice such as these shall not inherit the reign of Elohim. So let's put the emphasis back on the hatred. Okay, when we take hatred into ourselves, it keeps us from living in the fruits, the righteous fruits of the Spirit. Okay, and hatred is not for us. Hatred is not for us. What the Most High is displeased with ultimately is the breaking of Torah, the removal of right rulings, the removal of the law in uh, in exchange for lawlessness. Okay, so once again, with the emphasis on hatred, hatred is right up there with idolatry, drug, sorcery, quarrels, jealousy, indecency, cleanliness, adultery, whoring, dissensions, factions, envy, murders, drunkenness, wild parties. So these things we shouldn't be taking a part of when we are in a renewed spirit and when we are living after the Most High. All of which strong delusion would be a cause of, because with strong delusion, many of us feel that we are not supposed to live according to Torah. And if we don't live according to Torah, guess what? We'll be lawless because Torah is law. Okay? Now, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self control. Against such there is no Torah. Now, Torah again, meaning the right rulings, the foundation of right rulings, the foundation and stability that the Constitution of the Most High provides us. So, what Paul is essentially saying is, in that particular instance, all of the fruits of the Spirit, there is not a law against maintaining the fruits of the Spirit, for those things are good and great in the eyes of the Most High. Not there is no commandments or right rulings as established through the constitution of Torah, which are the laws, statutes, commands, right rulings, ordinances, and the judgments of the Most High. So many people reading a modern translation that would even come through the KJV, for instance, because I know that's where I first read about not keeping the law, the misconstruation of this idea that the law is not to be maintained. This is a ill translation. Not to say that the word is wrong or anything like that, but if we don't take on the Hebraic mindset, okay, and we don't renew our minds from a Hebraic perspective as being Hebrew Israelite people, then we will falter in our understanding. And then, if we're under strong delusion and we're looking forward to any excuse to not keep the law, statutes, and commandments and to not maintain a higher regard as ambassadors of the love and the light that the Most High has extended to us, then of course we will find excuse after excuse to not live according to Torah. Okay, and that is part of strong delusion, and that is why strong delusion is contagious this day. Strong delusion is contagious this day because we are moving toward the climactic approach, or approaching toward the climax within society, within this realm of absolute lawlessness. Okay, so before we get into the scripts today, we're going to always give thanks and praise and glory to Yahweh. Okay, Yahweh, Loheno Abanawa, Yahweh, Loheno Bashim, Mashiach, Yebasha, Waruach HaKodesh. Okay, and what we're going to also do is we're going to play that good old song, that good new song. You know, I'm here, and of course I'm here not to tickle your ears. So let's get off into it, and we'll begin the lesson.
Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not here to tickle your ear or tell you what you're wanting to hear. I'm here to correctly steer you are closer to Yahweh in you revere. I know that sometimes it gets hard, but you were blessed right from the start. That's how you've made it so far. So give your thanks with all your heart. All the way to September, even to November, all the way through December. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not here to tickle your ear or tell you what you're wanting to hear. I'm here to correctly steer you are closer to Yahweh in you revere. Look around, what do you see? A whole flock that's full of lost sheep. Dry bones, they all asleep. It's time to wake up and to change how you think. All the way to September, even to November, all the way through December. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not here to tickle your ear or tell you what you're wanting to hear. I'm here to correct the least, yeah. You are closer to
You're going to find that there will be times when people have no stomach for solid teaching, but will fill up on spiritual junk food, catchy opinions that tickle their fancy. They'll turn their backs on truth and chase mirages, but you keep your eye on what you're doing. Accept the hard times along with the good. Keep the message alive. Do a thorough job as God's servant.
All the way to September, even to November, all the way through December. Oh yeah, yeah.
And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not, so keep going.
All the way to September, even to November, all the way through December. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not here to tickle your ear or tell you what you're wanting to hear. I'm here to correct the least, yeah. You are closer to your if you believe, yeah.
All praises, all praises, all praises. Yes, all praises. Thank you for joining today, Awaken Goddess. Thank you for your moderation help as well. Thank you for your moderation help as well. We give all praise and thanks for your presence. What we're going to do right now is we're going to get into the book of Second Thessalonians, or in the Hebrew, Taslanokim, Taslanokim bet, or Second Thessalonians. Okay, so we're going to go to Taslanokim bet. Okay, and what we're going to do is read from there. Okay, we're going to read from there. We're going to read from chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse, let's see, what do we want to do? Let's start at verse 7, and we're going to go all the way down through verse 12. Okay, starting verse 7 and reading down to verse 12. So I'll give you all a moment to grab your scriptures. Taslanokim bet, or Second Thessalonians chapter 2. Okay, verses 7 through 12. Okay, and I have it on screen as well for those of you who don't have your scriptures with you handy right now. No worries about that. Let's go ahead and do that. Now I have the KJV and New International Version up on screen right now, for those of you who don't have a copy of the scriptures yet. But remember, you can go on and get your copy of the scriptures from the Institute for Scriptural Research. Okay, that's the ISR, the Institute for Scriptural Research. It's a great version of the scriptures where all of the names from the so-called Old Testament, which is the Tanakh, all the way to the so-called New Testament, which is Bereshith, or the New Covenant, Bereshith. We have all of the names rewritten in the Hebrew as they would have originally been written, and not only the names of each chapter, but also the names of all of the prophets and all of the people involved with the narrative of that day. Okay, so I always feel it's very important to have as many versions of scriptures as possible. I know we was kind of raised to be solely on the KJV, But I think that's a gross error where we come into the time of needing to have as much truth or access to truth as possible. So what we want to do is arm ourselves. Of course, we want to be armed with the armor of the Most High, as we read in the book of Ephesians. But we also want to make sure that we arm ourselves with as many different versions of the word as possible, and physical versions at that, recognizing that the time will come when we won't be able to access the internet and that latter rain will be over. So whatever you get today, whatever you have access to today, you have to keep fine note of that, and you have to make sure that you have access to it pretty indefinitely. Okay, always keep your scriptures with you. Always keep a copy of one or the other with you, so that you will have access to the word of truth as this time goes on and as lawlessness begins to increase throughout the land. But we're going to read from Thessalonikim Bet, also known as Second Thessalonians, chapter 2, and beginning at verse 7. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who now restrains comes out of the midst. So right now, the secret of lawlessness, y'all, is already going on. So this is back in Shaul's time. So if lawlessness was already pervading back then, you could imagine how in 2023 on the Gregorian calendar, we're at a serious climax of, well, we're moving toward, excuse me, that serious climax of lawlessness. And where there's lawlessness, there's usually anarchy. Okay, there's usually a falling of the Constitution, and there's usually a falling away of whatever kingdom that lawlessness is moving through. Now, in this situation, the kingdoms of the world as we know them today have put up all sorts of constitutions, laws, bylaws, statutes, all sorts of things that they consider to be right rulings. However, we know that this kingdom is governed by and led by Satan, Hashatan. If you don't know this, well, then you really need to get your mind right. Okay, now I'm going to be direct. Okay, so allow me to be direct. You need to get your mind right. And if you feel as though this government or this nation has your back and has the back of our people, has the back of people in general, then you might want to look at yourself in the mirror and ask if you are in a strong delusion. Okay, and this is very important. Most people who are under strong delusion do not realize they are under strong delusion until the Most High wakes them up. Okay, and some people don't know exactly how that strong delusion plays a role in their lives. So even if one is thinking that they're moving in the right way, there's going to either be a knock at the door of their minds, of their conscience, that makes them really stirred up and makes them question what it is they thought they knew up to that point, or they're just going to continue in the mindset that they have, and they won't regard the option that they might be under strong delusion is one that's serious, and then they'll be continued to move along the way that they are until they perish. Okay, so we need to really, really look at our life and look at, are we under strong delusion? Individually speaking, am I under strong delusion? Are you under strong delusion? But when we ask that question, we really need to look at ourselves first. So, the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who now restrains comes out of the midst. Okay? Now, who is he that restrains? Right now, there's an energy in the land that is keeping that lawlessness from reaching its climax. But eventually, that energy, that being, that force, whether it's angelic, whether it's the Ruach Hakodesh in the form of a barrier type spirit, a barrier type energy, whatever happens, and I'm saying it like this because I want you all to critically think. Okay, I'm saying it like this for a reason. So I want you to be able to look at the scriptures yourself, compare scripture with scripture, and critically think as we discuss and as we move forward over this particular lesson. All right? So I'm saying it like this for a reason. All right? But there is an opportunity for us to awaken this time, in this day. And I just alluded to that earlier when we talked about how we're in the latter rain. That rain is going to dry up soon. When it dries up, everything that you have gotten up to this point will hopefully have served you in your path to your awakening. Everything that you have gotten up to this point hopefully will stir you up and rouse you up in such a way where you are inspired to take what it is you have learned, to meditate, marinate, and really consider it to the point where you begin to want to dispensate and share it with others in your proximity to you. Okay, this is part of the Great Awakening. This is part of us as Hebrew Israelites, especially coming back to our original estate and turning back to the Most High with the seeking repentance, seeking to repent or turn away from those things that we had once done to cause us to be in this situation in the first place. Okay, but verse 8 goes on to say, "And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth." We read about that reference in a few different places. Okay, we read about it in Second Ezra. What do I want? Second Ezra 13. Let me make sure. I believe Second Ezra 13. Let me see. We're gonna get it. Yes, second verses 13, all praises. And that's verses 8 through 11. After this I saw all the Lord who had gathered to battle against him, so they afraid that they fight. And he saw the rest of the multitude coming. He didn't raise his hand or hold a spear or any weapon of war. Rather, I saw something like a wave of fire shoot forth from his mouth, and a breath of flame from his lips, and a storm of sparks from his tongue. All these things, the wave of fire, the breath of flame, and the mighty storm, mixed together, and fell upon the crowd that was rushing forward, prepared to fight. It burned them all up so that suddenly nothing was seen of the innumerable mob except the dust of ashes and the smell of smoke. I saw this and was amazed. You see, all of these individuals who will be seeking to fight against Yahweh upon his return are under strong delusion as well. And to go deeper with that, all of these people who will fight with against Yahweh, they will be agents and soldiers for the Antichrist or the anti-Hamashiach or the anti-Messiah. Okay? And that is the lawless one spoken of in verse 8. We also read about this happening in Yeshayahu. Okay? Yeshayahu chapter 11 verse 4. And let's get it because it's important to compare scripture with scripture as we continue to dig into this. Now, for those of you who don't know who Yeshayahu is, okay, for those of you who don't know who Yeshayahu is, that is Isaiah. Okay, so turn to Isaiah chapter 11. Okay, and this is why it's important, Hebrews, Israelites, to learn the language to the best of your ability. So, Yeshayahu 11, verse 4. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and shall decide with straightness for the meek ones of the earth, and shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wrong with the breath of his lips. Okay, so this isn't going to be a joke, y'all. This is going to be something that literally takes place, and this is how we know that Yahweh is definitely coming back and returning. And not only that, but was prophesied to come in the Tanakh. Okay, so this is for all of those Tanakh only Israelites, for all of those Tanakh only people who would believe that the narrative of Yahweh is a construct of this modern society, or is a construct of the Catholic Church. I ask you please to reconsider, because that is a form of strong delusion as well. To move forward and to teach that Yahweh is not the King of Kings, as the prophesied Hamashiach, is a great and gross error. Okay, especially on the part of the Hebrew Israelites. But when I think about it, honestly, reincarnation is a real thing. And those who didn't believe in his coming the first time out of the Hebrew Israelite people of that day have more than likely been born in this day as well and carry that same spirit on them. Okay, so only the Most High can wake these people up. But it's important, and hopefully they get a chance to come across messages like this, lessons like this, where they can reconsider their stance in regards to Yevasha. Okay? Verse 8 again of Thessalonikim Bet, or Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and bring to naught with the manifestation or revelation of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Hashatan, with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth, in order for them to be saved. So, the coming of this lawless one, or the Antichrist, is according to the working of Hashatan. The Antichrist will be the agent of Satan. So you can kind of look at this as a evil mirror, okay, if you may. And how I like to look at it, and how I imagine this in my head, is that the same way that Yahweh has the representation of himself in the form of Yahweh on earth, Satan, seeking to be like Yahweh, will have his own version of his so-called Messiah. Now, that Messiah or agent would be an anti Messiah, or a physical representation of the fullness of Hashatan's power here on earth in physical form. Okay? And this one will come, this lawless one will come to do all sorts of signs and wonders that will deceive the rest of the world who has not taken part of the mercy and grace or latter rain extended to us in this day. And they will definitely be under strong delusion when this happens. When this fully comes to the climatic realization, it is my understanding that all of the prophets who have been prophesying and teaching the word of truth in this modern time, whether it be on social media or on platforms like YouTube or Rumble, these platforms will not give access to those teachings any longer. And so you're going to have to had taken your notes. You're going to have purchased as many different forms and versions of the scriptures as possible, so that you can stay sharp, so that you can stay armed in the time to come. Because the lawless one, or the Antichrist, or the Anti-Messiah, will come, and before he's consumed by the King of Kings, the true Messiah, we will see a great and gross uh, falling away in society, not only from a moral perspective, because we see morality waning right now. We see morality moving away right now. We see people's moral compasses being destroyed daily. But can you imagine a world where not only will the moral compass be done away with, but everything that had kept that moral compass a little bit intact from a secular perspective, like, the so-called Constitution of the United States and whatever laws we have that govern this society right now, that have nothing to do with the Torah. Okay, when these things even get done away with and are removed, we're going to see absolute anarchy. And the only way we'll be able to maintain is if we are living a life according to Torah, and living a life according to the Most High. This is why we're asked to flee the cities and to move away from those uh, places where lawlessness has clearly been deposited, and move into places like where we have access to the natural resources, and places close to the wildernesses of the land, so that we can begin to build and prepare more so for that time. Okay? And you know this channel, if you've been supporting this channel, you know that's something that we talk about often. But in the context of strong delusion, those individuals of our people, and those individuals who are considered to be preppers and all the like, if they don't have the word of truth, well, then that's one thing. But those who do have the word of truth, who are also prepping, will be more inclined to survive this, not leaning on themselves and not leaning on their preparations from a physical perspective, but being able to lean on the Most High, and then moving forward with preparations and committing all works unto the Most High by Shema Mashiach Yebasha. Okay, so this is very important, y'all. It's extremely important. So, when we have lessons like this, I'm speaking from a perspective of a certain level of prerequisite already being attained by the viewer. Okay, so this is why, I'm starting to realize during these times where I'm not live streaming or where I'm not putting out lessons, it's my hope and expectation that all of you who are new supporters of this channel and original supporters of the channel have already been looking into the things brought forth through me so that you can do your own due diligence and come to the conclusions that you need to come to. Okay, it's very, very important that we do this. All right. But the coming of the lawless one is written about in verse 9 of Thessalonikim bet, or that Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 9 says that the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Hashatan, with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. Now, salvation hasn't come yet, and this is where the great testing will come during the great tribulation and during Jacob's trouble. We're looking forward to the salvation of Yahweh Mashiach, but we won't receive of that salvation until he returns. Right now, we are in the pot. We are still in the fire, if you may. But those of us who are living in a manner of rehearsing the righteous acts, those of us who have maintained to the greatest of our ability the laws, statutes, commandments, ordinances, bylaws, and right rulings of the Most High, also known as Torah, will be more inclined to quite possibly be the elect of the Most High, so that when Yahweh Mashiach, the King of Kings, the Malakim, returns, we will be able to receive of the salvation prophesied to all of those who will be saved. Now, those who are living in the deceit of unrighteousness, okay, who have fallen away and who believe the lie that the law, statutes, and commandments are done away with, therefore they cannot live a pious and right life in the eye of the Most High, they will be perishing. And this is very sad. Okay, this is very sad indeed. Some of these people will be your own loved ones. Some of these people will be the very ones who used to drag you to church every day, every Sunday, whether it was Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, whether it was Baptist, whether it was Pentecostal, whether it was Kojic, whatever it was. These individuals who are refusing to see the truth today in its full and entirety, in its fullness, and entirety, will be the very ones who perish in unrighteousness, in the deceit of unrighteousness. And it is a truly, truly sad thing as well. And a lot of these people, 2/3 of the people who I'm referring to, will be Hebrew Israelites, will be those who look just like you and I, will be our own family members. And so this is why once we receive the truth, we don't just want to sit back. We don't just want to sit back and relax and say, oh, I got the truth now, I'm good, and worry about ourselves. No, we have a great work ahead of us. Once again, we use the gifts, talents, the resources, the skills that we have been given in order to be of service. We can call ourselves king and queen, God, goddess, all these things, which rightfully would be a true statement in a morally encompassing mind. Okay, not in a moral mind where we're serving and worshiping ourselves, but in a mind of servitude. There's a saying, the greatest kings on earth were also the greatest servants. The greatest queens on earth were also the greatest servants. Not to be served, but to actually use the resources, use the ability to have great wealth and abundance in order to be of service to all those who they were placed over to serve. Okay? And the worst kings and queens that we have ever seen in history were always those who ruled from a place of needing to be served. Okay? So, for those of you who are watching this evening, I want you to really check yourself and really question whether or not, one, you are under strong delusion, even if you thought you were believing the truth. Are you really believing a lie? Are you really living a lie? Two, look at how you serve. Okay? Look at how you serve right now, or do you serve at all? What are you doing in regards to how you see yourself, how you see your awakening, and what are you doing with the truth now that you have received it? Are you just sitting on it? Are you putting it on ice? Are you just studying once a day to keep that study once a week, excuse me? Are you keeping that study to yourself? Or are you moved through the Ruach HaKodesh to share what it is you are learning with whoever the Most High and whomever the Most High would lead you to? One of my early prayers when I first got into this truth walk in 2007 was, Abba, please, please, this day. Well, first we give thanks always, but please guide me in a way where I receive a window of opportunity to share your truth with someone. Will you please provide me with a window of opportunity so that I might be able to share your truth with someone? Okay? Now, this was and still is a very serious prayer of mine. So much so that when we are walking and talking and we are doing what we do day to day, whether we're in the store getting gas, whether we're out in our yards, whatever we're doing, we're looking for a window of opportunity that might be provided to us to help steer someone in strong delusion out of it. Now, I know it's a big task, and we have to look at ourselves a certain way. Like, who is little old me to be used in this way? Who is little old me to be trying to help change somebody's life? Well, that's the thing about it. Remember that we aren't the one changing the lives. Okay, so that's something that you have to recognize if you're being stopped from actually working for the Most High. I'm not the one changing the life. You're not the one changing the life. The Most High changes the hearts of men and women. But when another brother or sister can see how the Most High is working through you, that would hopefully give them an inclination to want to question their own life and to see if the change can be made within them. And now your lamp is shining. Now your light is shining and it's not being hid. Okay? The scriptures tell us that when a lamp is lit, you don't put it under a bed, you don't put it under a chair, you don't hide it under a cover for that light to not shine. You sit it up in its highest regard. You sit it up on a shelf. You sit it on that table. You sit it in the windowsill so that that lamp, that light, will shine for all to see. Now, it takes bravery and courage to do this. But you have to remember that we are living in a time right now where the light and love of the truth is going to be removed. And only those who have been living in the truth will be able to represent the truth when the truth is seemingly removed from the earth. Okay? So, verse 11. Let's start back at verse 9 of Thessalonikim Bet. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 9. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Hashatan with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth, in order for them to be saved. Okay? Not saved now, but eventually saved. And the love of the truth is what we need more than ever. Without the love of the truth, we will be in strong delusion. We have to love the truth. And when we love the truth, by byproduct, we will also want to love to keep the truth in Torah. The Most High tells us in the book of what is that? 1 John. Let's go get it real quick. That those who love the Most High keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Okay? Let's get it. Let's get it. 1 John chapter 3, verse 1. 1 John chapter 3, verse 1. Or Yochanan Aleph. Yochanan Aleph. That's how you would say that in Hebrew. Okay, the Ibrim. So, chapter 3, verse 1 of 1 John says, see what love the Father has given us, that we should be called children of Elohim. Children of Elohim. For this reason the world does not know us, because it did not know him. This is why we are so set apart and peculiar. This is why it takes bravery and courage to actually help to wake up our people and those who are seeking to know the truth. Okay? This is why the world doesn't know us and looks at us funny and calls us strange. Because when we have the love of the Father, love of Abba within us, that love transposes into the wanting to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Beloved ones, now we are children of Elohim. Now! And it has not been yet revealed what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone having this expectation in him cleanses himself as he is clean, cleanses himself. We must renew our minds and cleanse ourselves to make ourselves ready like those brides for the bridegroom. We must cleanse ourselves in preparation for our salvation. And everyone having this expectation in him cleanses himself as he is clean. Everyone doing sin also does lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. So sin is the removal of Torah. And if we do not maintain Torah, we are lawless. Because Torah is law. It is the constitution, it is the Kodesh, the set apart constitution that the Most High has dispensed to the children of Yisrael. And as the children of Yisrael lived within the land of our inheritance, we were to keep that constitution of the law. And when we left the law, we were given over to wickedness. And given over to wickedness caused us to be scattered to the four corners of the earth into this final and most greatest captivity. Okay, do you see how everything aligns with where we are today in conjunction with lawlessness? This is why we have to return to the law, to Torah. And you know that he was manifested to take away our sins, or to take away lawlessness. And in him there is no sin, or in him there is no lawlessness. Hashatan, there is all sorts of lawlessness. But in Yavashah there is no lawlessness. So little children, let no one lead you astray. The one doing righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. The one doing sin is of the devil, you see? The one doing lawlessness is of the devil, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose, the Son of Elohim was manifested or revealed to destroy the works of the devil. You see, everyone having been born of Elohim does not sin, because his seed stays in him, and he is powerless to sin, because he has been born of Elohim. In this the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are manifest. Everyone not doing righteousness is not of Elohim, neither the one not loving his brother. So you see, this is how we know the lawless one who is already at work is of the devil. Lawlessness is of the devil, and this is why we see what we see today, the depravity of Torah being kept in all of the land today. And you only have a few within the number of 8 billion souls. Only a small few are striving to keep Torah. Do you see how sad this is? Do you see how horrible this is? And we live in a time right now that the children of Elohim and the children of the devil are revealed. The children of the devil are all of those in strong delusion, who are claiming that Torah is done away with. That it's okay to eat the pork. It's okay to live lawless. It's okay to live where we can commit sin after sin after sin and expect Yahweh to forgive us of these sins. Instead, we have to know that Torah is just as valid as it was then as it is today, and even more so, because we are looking to cleanse ourselves, and the only way to cleanse ourselves is to return to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High and repent. So the one doing sin is of the devil, period, because the devil has sinned from the beginning. We know in Yohanan Aleph, or 1 John chapter 2, we also know again that the love of the Most High is to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 15 of 1 John chapter 2. Do not love the world, nor that which is in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, it is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust of it. But the one doing the desire of Elohim remains forever. Okay? So we have to realize that when we love the Most High, okay, when we love the Most High, we will keep His commandments. And His commandments are not grievous. Okay? His commandments are not grievous. By this we have known love, because He laid down His life for us, as we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. Okay? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. Okay? That's 1 John chapter 3, verse 15 through 18. Okay? Now let's get back to the book of Thessalonians, back to 2 Thessalonians. So, we see that in verse 10. And with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. For this reason, Elohim sends them a working of delusion, or a strong delusion, for them to believe the falsehood or the lie, in order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in the unrighteousness. But we ought to give thanks to Elohim always for you, brothers, beloved by the Master, because Elohim from the beginning chose you to be saved in set-apartness of spirit, or kodeshness of spirit, and belief in the truth, unto which He called you by our good news, for the obtaining of the esteem of our Master Yahweh HaMashiach. So then, brothers, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or by our letter. And our Master Yahweh Mashiach Himself, and our Elohim and Father, who has loved us and given us everlasting encouragement and good expectation through favor, encourage your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. Okay? I love those closing verses 14 through 17. The good news of our salvation come. The good news that Hamashiach has laid His life down as propitiation for the sins of Israel, who received the Torah, and when against Torah, broke our transgressed Torah. Brothers, why is this emphasis on the brothers? Because it is the brothers, men of Israel, who are supposed to stand strong in this day. It is the brothers, men of Israel, who are supposed to lead our families into the truth and maintain that covering over our families in this day. It is our brothers, the men of Israel, who are to stand fast and hold the traditions, the Torah, which you were taught, whether by word or by our letter. This is why we know that strong delusion has no hold over those who are living according to Torah. Strong delusion only has hold over those who are living lawlessly, those who are living in lawlessness. And we just read in 1 John chapter 3 that those who are living in lawlessness, the static echo, okay? We know that those who are living in lawlessness are those of the devil. All right, so let's see if we can get the audio fixed. Okay. Maybe mute and unmute. Thank you for that update and that heads up, Zumba Pros. Thank you for that. Please let me know if the audio has returned to how it should. And we're going to keep on moving forward. But the lawless ones and all of those who practice lawlessness are the children of the devil. The children of the devil will be separate as tares from the children of the Most High. The children of the Most High will seek to live in Torah, while the children of the devil will not seek to live according to Torah. This lawlessness that we talk about, it began to take place during the Maccabean era. Okay, we see that the Gentiles who came in from from Greece and from Rome, they began to invade the land under Vespasian, emperor of Rome, the general Vespucian, and he came in with his Roman, with his soldiers. One moment, y'all. Okay, all praises. Clear audio now. All praises. He came in with his military might and came in with their lawlessness and began to do all sorts of wickedness in our temples and the temple of the Most High. Began to do and practice all sorts of idolatry and all sorts of uncleanliness. And they also began to take the book of the law and sought to paint the likeness of their images. Okay, so this is where we begin to see, just today it was sent to me, sister sent to me a quick update on what's going on in Russia right now, where Vladimir Putin revealed something that we have been talking about for many years now, which is the icons. Okay, the icons or the medieval paintings that have been suppressed and hidden. Russia has always maintained a certain truth in that how they look at so-called black people, in that all of their icons of the prophets, including Yahweh, are all painted in melanated form. Okay, so all of the prophets are melanated in their icons, in their paintings. So they don't have any white paintings, and if they do, they might be of more modern day Russian saints that have maintained the truth in Russia. This is one of the reasons why Russia did not participate in the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, this is why Russia did not participate in the enslavement of the Yahudim, in the enslavement of Israelites, the only European country to not participate in the transatlantic slave trade, in the enslavement of our people as Israelites, was Russia. This is why also Russia will be used in this final day to be one of those who destroy Babylon, modern day Babylon, which we now know to be the United States of America. It's funny how that works, right? Gog and Magog, which is Russia. Okay, so we seeing this take place right now, and we're seeing how Russia is playing a hand in not only the awakening of Israelites in the European hemisphere and side of things, but also how they'll be used, according to prophecy, to be part of the destructive force that does away with this Babylonian system. But lawlessness in Maccabees chapter 3 verse 48 states, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen or the Gentiles had sought to paint the likeness of their images. This is why today we see the blonde-haired, blue-eyed image of the one they call Jesus. This is why we see a repainting of all of the prophets, all of the saints, all of the characters and people who live during the time of the biblical narrative. This is why we see this taking place. This is why we see the names being changed into an anglicized version versus maintaining the Hebraic perspective. This is why the name Yahweh or Yahushua or Yahawashai, as some say, or Yahusha, all of these different Hebrew based names were changed to the modern day anglicized Jesus. Okay, and we know that that is not even the correct transliteration. For those of you who are just now joining the live stream or joining the channel, you can go and look throughout the channel's video content and see where we have different lessons pertaining to that particular truth. But to stay on point, we read from 2nd Ezra chapter 13 in regards to Yeshayahu, okay, in regards to Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 11 verse 4, as well as Thessalonikim bet, or 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8. where the master, Yahweh shall consume the spirit, or shall consume with the spirit of his mouth all of those who are practicing lawlessness and wickedness today. Now again, 2nd Ezra chapter 13 goes deeper into what that vision and prophecy will look like in our day, when all of the nations of the world will fight as agents for the anti-Messiah against the true and living Hamashiach. Okay, and this is part of the battle of World War III, which will culminate, the war of World War III, which will eventually culminate into the climactic battle of Armageddon. Okay, now, why is strong delusion so prevalent? And what would actually take place in the heart or mind of an individual who is under strong delusion? Why is it so difficult to talk to our family members about the truth? Why is it so difficult to connect with other Israelite people who don't know they're Israelites? Okay? Why is it that the pastors and the preachers today, who are Israelite people by blood, do not realize or want to know or hear that they are Israelite people? Why is it that the pastors and the preachers of today in these pulpits are preaching to their congregations that it's okay to eat foods that, and will we even consider them foods if they're not clean foods? Well, that's another conversation in itself, in a sense. But why is it that, for the sake of this conversation, these pastors and preachers are promoting to their congregations from the pulpit that it's okay to eat unclean foods? Okay, like shrimp, lobster, crab. Okay, like pork. Okay, like all sorts of birds that are not clean to be consumed. Why is that the case? What's going on with that? Well, what I have been able to deduce and what the scriptures deduce for us is just like what we see on screen right now. There's been a hardening of the heart of men and women. And when there's a hardening of the heart, mind you, a Hebraic perspective will make this clear for you. When there's a hardening of the heart and mind are one and the same. So if the heart is hardened, what do we usually say when somebody don't listen? Oh man, you got a hard what? A hard head. You got a hard head, bruh. You got a hard head, sis. Why you not listening to reason? Oh, 'cause they got a hard head. Now, when we realize that a hard head is synonymous with a hard heart, now it begins to make sense on why folk just don't want to listen. Now, Israelite people, we are known and we are famous for having hard heads, hardened hearts, stiff necks, and we are famous for these things, for being stubborn as an ox or stubborn as a donkey, stubborn as a mule. We are famous for this. But Proverbs chapter 28, verses 13 through 14 tell us that whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Blessed is the one who fears the Most High, or Yahweh, always. But whoever hardens his heart will fall into calamity. So when we conceal our transgressions, how can we prosper? We cannot prosper if we conceal our transgressions. Remember, transgression is the breaking of the law. So if we are transgressing the law by breaking it, and we don't confess and forsake these transgressions or breaking of the law, how can we live in the law? In other words, when we conceal our transgressions, we are continuing to live within them. It is only when we recognize our transgressions by recognizing the validity of the law that we can finally say, oh man, I've been transgressing the law. This whole time I thought the law was done away with. Therefore I was transgressing it. But once I realized that the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High are just as valid as the very day he gave them to Moses on behalf of the children of Israel, then we can recognize, oh wow, I've been eating pork. That was wrong. Now I just confessed that I was eating pork. Now that I know eating pork is wrong, now I can forsake eating pork. Once I forsake eating pork, then I could look at the law and say, well, what can I eat instead of pork? Now I can realize, oh wow, I can eat lamb, I can eat chicken, I can eat deer, I can eat turkey, I can eat fish with scales on it. Oh wow, I can eat buffalo. Okay, I have a great option in front of me on what I can eat. Wow! Now I will be able to obtain mercy by grace. Because grace was extended to me to even wake me up to realize I was transgressing in the first place. But that's the first step that I got. That was the first blessing that I got, was grace. To live long enough to realize I was living in sin and make the corrections and repent. But now I need mercy. Mercy now comes into play after grace. Okay? Mercy is what is extended to me so that I can now live within the tenets of the law, statutes, and commandments and actually be forgiven. Okay? But if I keep my heart hard, oh, I don't got to listen to the law, statutes, and commandments. Those are done away with. I don't have to keep Torah. Now my head is hard. Remember, heart and head is synonymous. Heart and mind is synonymous with one another. Now my head is hard, and guess what's going to happen? I'm going to fall into calamity. Now what is that calamity? That calamity is the perishing of all those who are living in unrighteousness. Ezekiel chapter 36 verse 26 tells us that, Ezekiel tells us that, and I will give you a new heart and a new spirit I will put within you. That new heart is a new mind. A propensity to want to live according to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Not because your brother, your true Jew is saying so, but because you finally have seen the validity of doing such. Because now you see the seriousness of doing such for yourself. All praises to the Most High by Shema Mashiach Yevashah. And I will give you a new heart and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone. What is stone? Stone is hard. Stone is tough. Stone is rough. Stone has to be grinded away at in order to be shaped. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. What is flesh? Flesh is soft. Flesh is flexible. Okay? So Most High says, I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, that hardened mind, and I will give you a softened mind, a mind that is ready to live according to the Torah of the Most High. Romans chapter 9 verse 18, Romayim goes on to say, so then he has mercy on whom he desires, and he hardens whom he desires. So that strong delusion, a lot of times, it is due to the propensity within the individual to want to live away from Torah. But once that individual has made up their minds to live away from Torah, guess what? The Most High will allow that individual to go on and do so. This is why Pharaoh, back in the days of our ancestors and ancestresses in Mitzrayim, this is why that particular Pharaoh had his heart hardened. It wasn't that his heart was hardened because the Most High hardened it. It was because Pharaoh, all right, so when we talk about hardened in the Hebraic perspective, that is kazak, okay, kazak. Now that actually means to have foundation, okay, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But Pharaoh's heart wasn't hardened as we like to think from a Christian perspective, okay. It's more so the propensity to want to do something and move in the direction of such, and then be given the favor to do so, so that that direction can be, how do I say it? So that, because, we talk about the Hebraic meanings, they're so deep and nuanced in layers. So we're talking about the propensity to want to achieve a goal and the courage to do so, okay? And that's kazak. The propensity to want to do something, whether it's good or construed as bad, but the courage to do it. It's like getting into a fight, okay, or standing in front of a neighborhood bully, right? That neighborhood bully's going around and he knocking people down, stealing people's ice cream when they buy it from the ice cream man, like a Debo, right? Everybody was afraid of Debo, till Craig had the courage to stand up against Debo. Now, in the case of that particular situation in Friday, Craig didn't have any liquid courage. He wasn't drinking anything. But imagine a situation where someone who's gotten bullied will only be able to stand up against the bully if they take a shot of Hennessy, or they have to drink some wine first in order to have the kazak or the courage or that that propensity of mind to move forward with that goal to finally knock the bully out. Okay? Well, Pharaoh had a mind like that. He was moved in a way where he finally, it was like, under normal circumstances, I probably wouldn't do this. But I have the propensity, the deep seated hatred and propensity to want to do away with the children of Israel. So the Most High favored that and allowed that to move forward. Okay, I was gonna say second Ezra, but Exodus chapter 4, verse 21 says, Yahweh said to Moshe, when you go back to Mitzrayim, to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders which I have put in your power. But I will harden his heart, so that he will not let the people go. Exodus chapter 7, verse 3. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that I may multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt, or Mitzrayim. Exodus chapter 9, verse 12. And Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not listen to them, just as Yahweh had spoken to Moshe. That would happen, okay? Exodus chapter 10, verse 1, the theme continues. Then Yahweh said to Moshe, go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I may perform these signs of mine among them. Exodus chapter 10, verse 27 goes on. Now, of course, Hebrew Exodus is Shemoth. Okay, Shemoth. Exodus chapter 10, or Shemoth chapter 10, verse 27. But Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was not willing to let them go. On your screen right now, you see two paths. You see two paths. You want to know, back in 2007, August 11, 2007, I had a vision placed into my heart. It didn't quite look like this, but there was two paths placed into my mind. And where you see those trees in the middle of the path, in the middle of the fork, it was like ivy bushes that I saw in my mind. And now I'm left-handed. And usually I would take the left path. I would take the left way for things because I'm left-handed. But this day the Most High revealed to me that I should go to the right. Little did I know at that time that the Most High has all of the saints and prophets sit on the right-hand side of his being. And all of those who would go and follow after unrighteousness would live on the left-hand side. Now, does this mean that left-handed people are unrighteous? No. As a matter of fact, all of the scribes of Yisrael were left-handed, because we must write from right to left. And of course, we cannot smear the writings of the script. But what I'm saying is that when we talk about going on and choosing a certain path, there will only be two paths. Okay, the path that is clear to the left, and the path that is the narrow path, the path that is not often taken to the right. We see if we continue straight, we'll be going straight into a big old humongous tree and a bunch of foliage and a bunch of trees that will not help us get to any path. So we're going to have to choose a path. In life, it will be very difficult when you come to the point of realization that you have to choose sides. Before you choose the path, you will be with the herd. You will be with all of the people. You will be with the one mindset, okay, that we were all born into have. This is what the inoculation of schooling in today's society is all about, the miseducation. It's about getting people programmed to the point where they cannot think for themselves critically. I always tell my children, I said, I'm not here to teach you what to think. I'm here to teach you how to think. Because as a papa, it's critical that you teach your children, your family, how to think critically. Okay? And we were all inundated with a form of programming that took us away from critical thought. It was only by the grace of the Most High that our minds were awakened to begin to think critically and look within the scriptures for ourselves, so that we can identify who we are, what we are, why we are, where we are, how we are, and where we're going to be. If we don't think critically, especially in a day like today, then we can be led any old way. And of course, the way that Hashatan wants us to be led is away from the Most High. Okay? That's what happens when we are under strong delusion. That's what happened with Pharaoh. Shemoth 11:10. Moshe and Aaron performed all these wonders before Pharaoh. Yet Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the sons of Israel go out of his land. Talking about Pharaoh. Pharaoh did not let our ancestors go. Okay? Exodus chapter 11, Exodus chapter 14, verse 4. Thus I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will chase after them, and I will be honored through Pharaoh and all his army. Okay? And the Egyptians or Mitzrayimites will know that I am Yahweh. And they did so. Exodus chapter 14, verse 8. Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, or king of Mitzrayim, and he chased after the sons of Israel as the sons of Israel were going out boldly. Exodus chapter 14, verse 17. As for me, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Mitzrayimites or Egyptians so that they will go in after them. And I will be honored through Pharaoh and all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. How will the Most High be honored? The Most High will be honored because as Pharaoh does everything the Most High said he would do, the children of Israel will see that the Most High is true and right in all of his ways. Now, what we have to realize is, first of all, Pharaoh originally hardened his own heart. Okay? Pharaoh originally hardened his own heart. And this goes into the example that I use, and we'll touch on this. El, or God, predicted that Pharaoh would harden his heart in Exodus chapter 4, verse 21, Exodus chapter 7, verse 3. But Pharaoh, and it's not a predicting, it's prophesied, okay? But Pharaoh was the only one who originally did the hardening in Exodus chapter 7, verse 13 through 9 and 11. The Most High's first act of hardening Pharaoh's heart was in Exodus chapter 9, verse 12. Now again, the word harden should be translated strengthen. The Hebrew word for harden again is kazak. Say it with me, kazak. Kazak. Zak. Kazak. Okay? Which translates as to become strong, encourage, repair. Okay? Encourage, strong, repair, become strong. Okay? Harden. Now, halat defines the word as be strong, grow strong, prevail over, to have courage, to harden, to gird, to repair or sustain. Okay? The term is always translated as harden in Exodus or Shemoth, but it's not really translated this way in the rest of the Tanakh or Old Testament. Therefore, God or the Most High gave Pharaoh the courage or strengthening to carry out his evil desire. Okay? And this same courage or strengthening is the same hardening of the hearts that those who are under strong delusion have today. It's this courage to be wrong. It's a strengthening to be incorrect. And it's a strengthening to live within that incorrectness so that when someone comes with the truth, according to the scriptures, that individual denies the truth with so much fervor that they simply don't want to listen. Okay? And this is why strong delusion is contagious. Because if somebody has influence, somebody has the material means of this realm, someone has all of the things that people construe as success of this realm, guess what? It's easier for an individual to then go along and say, well, shoot, if this person is living according to the world and is living this way and they have everything that most people seek to have and attain in this life, then maybe the stance that they have taken is a solid and valid one. Okay, maybe it's a solid and valid stance to take. But if we allow that so-called solid and valid stance, which is not a valid stance, but it's definitely solid, if we allow that to influence us, then guess what? By default, we too fall under a form of strong delusion. I hope you all are getting what is being brought forth. I truly do. I truly, truly do. And we're going to continue to get back to it. Let me get back to Second Thessalonians, or in the Hebrew, Tesalonikim bet. But so you see that God or the Most High gave Pharaoh the courage or strengthening, and go ahead and take a screenshot of this, family, to carry out his own evil desire. Now, there's a study and a lesson by Forster and Marston, and they write that the wicked desire was already in Pharaoh. Okay, Yair action simply gave him courage to carry it out. Okay, when any normal person would have given in because of fear. Pharaoh received supernatural strength to continue with his evil path of rebellion. Okay, and so this supernatural strength, of course, came from the Most High, because the Most High prophesied that it would happen. And when the Most High prophesies something to happen in the future, it must and will happen. So once again, to illustrate this, and I used the fight earlier, but now we'll get into this illustration. Consider a man who desires to unfortunately dispatch his boss, okay? But he doesn't have the courage to follow through with the actual the dispatching or the murder, okay? And this is kind of rough, so for all the children watching, just, may you be covered in the Ruach HaKodesh as you understand this example. But to gain the courage, he reaches for a whiskey bottle. Okay? The man didn't have the courage when he first walked into the job. Okay? He knows he's been getting bullied or whatever it is, but he didn't have the courage within himself to actually do this heinous deed. Instead, he reaches for a whiskey bottle so that this liquid courage in the form of alcohol can give him the ability to carry out the thing that he wants to do. And in the same way, the Most High gave Pharaoh the strength to do what he had set his mind on doing. When we look in the book of Exodus, in comparison to the rest of the Tanakh, the translators always translated Kazakh as hardened. Okay, and I want you to take a screenshot of this, family. Take a screenshot of this and really look at it, okay, at a later time. But the translators always translated Kazakh as hardened. But in the rest of the Tanakh, almost never is Kazakh translated as hardened. Instead, it's translated as strengthen, encourage, repair, maintain, give strength, fortify, make strong, mend. Okay? And that would be more in line with the true Hebraic aspect of the word Kazakh. Okay? So I really want you to take a screenshot of this so that you can have it for later reference. And hopefully you can see all of the different instances where Kazakh is used in the Tanakh, and that you can see, okay, well, now I see a more truer sense of the word. So when Pharaoh's heart was actually hardened, it wasn't from a stupefied perspective. It wasn't from like, I don't want to listen per se, but it was more so of an encouraging perspective to follow through with what was going to be an evil plot against the children of Israel. Okay? And this is why it's so important to return to a Hebraic form of thinking. Okay, as we move forward through the scriptures, Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 30 tells us, But Sihon, king of Heshbon, was not willing for us to pass through his land, for Yahweh, your El, hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, in order to deliver him into your hand, as he is today. Yahshua, or Yehbashah, chapter 11, verse 20, For it was of Yahweh to harden their hearts, the Kazakh their hearts, okay, to meet Israel, or encourage them to meet Israel in battle, in order that he might utterly destroy them, that they might receive no mercy, but that he might destroy them, just as Yahweh had commanded Moshe. Okay? As we continue in Lamentations, verse 3:65, you will give them hardness of heart. Your curse will be on them. So, again, as we continue to move forward, we can see that strong delusion has everything to do with a natural propensity of an individual to want to go a certain way. Now, usually that strong delusion is referenced in point to those who want to go a certain way, and that certain way be against the Most High. Let's make that point. Because there are those who want to go a certain way, who are not under strong delusion, but who are going toward the Most High. Okay? Isaiah or Yeshayahu 63 verse 17 goes on to say, "Why, O Yahweh, do you cause us to stay from your ways and harden our heart from fearing you? Return for the sake of your servants, the tribes of your heritage." Whew! I love that. I love that passage. Return for the sake of your servants. Remember, we mentioned earlier how the best kings and queens were always those who were serving. We see furthermore that the Most High servants or ambassadors are the tribes of his heritage. Who are the tribes of the Most High's heritage? Well, we read about the heritage of the Most High in Deuteronomy chapter 30 and in Deuteronomy chapter 7. The tribes of the Most High's heritage are those who the Most High inherited as his own, the children of Israel, the sons of Jacob. Beautiful, beautiful passage. John chapter 12, verse 40 tells us, "He has blinded their eyes, and he hardened their heart, so that they would not see with their eyes, and perceive with their heart, and be converted, and I heal them." You see, our eyes have been blinded, and our minds have been hardened, so that we would not see with our eyes and perceive with our heart or our minds what was actually going on. And this is such a shame. It's such a shame. So what do we do about this, children of Israel? What do we do about this? Well, we continue to cry aloud. We continue to seek the forgiveness of the Most High. Okay? We continue to pray and ask the Most High that he wake up his children and that he use us in a mighty way. That he use us in a way where we can study the right rulings, judgments, and commands that he has given to us, and that we can articulate and say the thing that needs to be said in order that that one soul might be moved closer to salvation. Okay? John chapter 12, verse 48 tells us that the one who rejects me and does not receive my words has a judge. That judge is Mashiach, Yahweh, the word or Torah. The word that I have spoken will judge him on the last day. You see? You see all praises. You see how that works? Do you see how the one who rejects me, okay, what is the rejection? The rejection is Torah. So the one who rejects me and does not receive my words has a judge. The word is Hamashiach made flesh. Yahweh made flesh. And the word that I have spoken will judge him on the last day. The word will judge all of those who are living in unrighteousness, because the word is that meat and balance that was given unto us in order to make the proper decisions as we live this life. Okay? This picture is telling. This illustration. When the herd is all running toward a cliff, the one running in the opposite direction seems crazy. When the herd is all running toward a cliff, go that way, go that way. The one running in the opposite direction seems crazy. For all of the family who is awakened this day, for all of the family who has begun to do the work and has begun to recognize the seriousness of the time that we live in, you've been called crazy. You've been called stupid. You've been ridiculed. You've been ostracized. You've been asked, why are you doing this, when all of the law, statutes, and commands were nailed to the cross with Jesus, knowing that Jesus wasn't the name and is not the name of our Savior and the King of Kings. You have been asked, why are you trying to keep the law as if it is from a self-righteous perspective? Why are you trying to maintain the right rulings of the Most High? It's impossible. So you might as well not do it. Right? All of these things have been said. Oh, or this is a good one. We can eat whatever we want. Because we know folk love eating. We can eat whatever we want. And even if we not able to eat whatever we want, it's okay. It's okay. You could just ask for forgiveness from God. And God will forgive you. All of this is wrong and an error of thought. It is due to strong delusion. When you see the herd going one way, and you have made the decision to go against the herd by going that way, it will be difficult. It will be difficult at first. But the more you see those herd people, those herd mindset people, falling off of a cliff, just like what we see in this illustration up here, and they're jumping off a cliff in high amount of numbers, you'll finally realize that, wait, the direction you was going was the right one. And you can give thanks and praise and give all the glory to the Most High for that. Before we conclude this lesson, we're going to go ahead on and we're going to play that brand new song, Holy Ghost Fire. Reminds me of the awakened from the sleep, the vaccinated from non-vax people. Yeah, the jibber jabber. That's right. It reminds me of that too. It reminds me of a whole bunch. Not only of that, but it reminds me of this time that we're living in, especially where the truth must go out, but many people will continue to fight against the truth in order to maintain living comfortably in the lies, in the society of lies. Okay? Well, we're going to go ahead and play Holy Ghost Fire right now, and I'm going to take a small sip of this water, a small water break, and then we'll get right back to it. Holy Ghost Fire by Ya'ak True Jew, by Shema Mashiach Yevashawa Ruach HaKodesh. Here we go.
And when all the children of Israel saw how the fire came down, and the glory of Yahweh upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement, and worshipped and praised Yahweh, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. 2 Chronicles 7:3.
I feel that Holy Ghost fire burning deep inside. It's a flame that can never be denied. Purifying my heart, cleansing my soul, making me whole, making me whole. It's that Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. Burn away the darkness, leave me renewed. It's that Holy Ghost fire, burn away the tears. Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. I'm filled with the Spirit, empowered by grace. I'm a new creation, I'm in a new race. No longer am I bound by sin, no longer in chains. I'm free to worship, free to praise his name. It's that Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. Burn away the darkness, leave me renewed. It's that Holy Ghost fire, burn away the tears. Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. Yeah, this fire inside of me, it can't be contained. It's a flame that burns brightly, it can't be restrained. Yeah, it's the power of God, it's the love of Christ, it's the Holy Ghost fire burning in my life. It's that Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. Burn away the darkness, leave me renewed. It's that Holy Ghost fire, burn away the tears. Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. All I see is misery, but I'm here to
to preach about our victory. Hearing the enemy thinking he really want a piece of me. He couldn't see the Prince of Peace, so how he think he gon' be able to stand up to the holy and righteous King of Kings? How do I know that I'm a prince of the power? Cause I was out here speaking Hebrew, ain't even know what y'all that I mean. When I'm praying, I face the east, we got power over the beast. We take our feet and we trample it down and keep it underneath.
Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears. Burn away the darkness, leave me renewed. It's that Holy Ghost fire. Burn away the tears. Holy Ghost fire, come and consume all of my doubts, all of my fears.
And when they had prayed, the place was shaken where they were assembled together. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and they spake the word of God with boldness. Acts chapter 4, verse 31.
It's that Holy Ghost fire. Fire. It's that Holy Ghost fire. Fire. It's that Holy Ghost fire.
Sister TC, welcome to the live stream. Welcome, family, to everybody just now tapping in. Welcome. You can go back and replay this live stream once it's done, and most high willing, it will be made available to you all. This is my last slide for the evening, family, and I think it's very telling. We all familiar with the book of Revelation, okay? In the Hebrew, that would be Hazon. Revelation is the last book in the scriptures, right? So, for all of those people who would like to say, oh no, the law, statutes, commands are done away with, right? Or we don't have to follow Torah. We don't have to deal with Torah. We don't even have to read the Tanakh. All we have to do is look at the New Testament and follow after Jesus. And well, you do realize that Yahweh is the Word made flesh, not the New Testament made flesh, the so-called New Testament made flesh, not John chapter 3 verse 16 made flesh, but the entire volume of all of the holy and divine scriptures is Yahweh made flesh. Okay, so one thing we have to really take into account is if we're going to live in a way where we think that the law, statutes, and commandments are done away with, well, then we have to reconsider our stance, and we have to ask ourselves, I consider myself to be smart. I consider myself to be wise. Am I under strong delusion because of what I'm thinking right now? Is how I'm thinking in contemplating this situation something that's going to really negatively affect me, or am I living according to what Torah has to say? This is very important. For those of us who run around saying that the law, statutes, and commandments are done away with and teach others that this is true, there's actually a punishment for that. Okay? There's actually a punishment for that. So we don't want to do that. It's better to just be quiet if we don't know than to follow the herd mentality and say that, wait a second, it's done away with. The law is done away with. Because that's what everybody else said. That's what all the pastors on late night TV is saying. And they saying just come up and get this holy water sprinkled on you, come by this prayer cloth, and I'll be good. Okay? And all that's false. Revelation chapter 22, verse 14 tells us that blessed are they that do his commandments. Okay? That they might have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. Wait. I thought the law, statutes, and commandments was done away with. I thought they were nailed to the cross with Yahweh, with Jesus. But this is Yahweh talking right here in the last book, in the last chapter of the whole book, saying that blessed are they that do his commandments. So where are these commandments found? This statement is made in the last book of the Bible or the scriptures, but the commandments are found in the first 5 books of the scriptures, the main meat of the commandments, that is. So if the main meat of the commandments are found in Torah in the first 5 books, of the Tanakh. But this statement was made in the last book of the scriptures in Revelation, or Hasson. And what does that mean? That means that from the beginning all the way to the end, the laws, statutes, and commandments, right rulings, ordinances, and judgments of the Most High stand. So what we have to do is realize that it's not our keeping of the law, statutes, and commandments that will save us in the sense of that salvation being in and of ourselves. But it is the keeping of the law, statutes, and commandments, right rulings, and judgments, and ordinances of the Most High that will prepare us to receive salvation, to actually be worthy and worthy of the redemption and redeeming power of the Most High by Shema Mashiach Yebashah, in order to become saved when that great and terrible day of His visitation takes place. Now we say great and terrible. We say great for us who are believing and who know the truth, but it's terrible for all those under strong delusion or refuse to receive of the truth. So I hope that this lesson was edifying. I hope that this lesson was something that we definitely needed today and needed to be reminded of. I hope that we can begin to see the differences of strong delusion versus having a sound and right mind. Okay, none of this is in and of ourselves. It's not that we seek this form of self-righteousness, of validation, that we are living according to Torah for our own sake so that we can be praised, worshiped, and glorified. It's so that we can praise, worship, and glorify the name of the Most High. It's so that we can continue to be ambassadors of truth in a truly wicked time and era right now. Okay, so this is what we have to remember and recognize. This is the context that we have to live within. It's not that I want to be praised and worshiped and honored and all of that. No, I'm just a servant. I'm just a servant. Okay, we read about being servants in Isaiah. Okay, let's go back to that real quick because that was an awesome script that I really liked that one. Okay, Isaiah chapter 63, verse 17. Why, O Yahweh, do you cause us to stray from your ways? Well, we had to be caused to stray from the ways of Yahweh so that we would be scattered through the four corners of the world, and that as we awaken, the truth of the word would be dispensated in all of those places where we were scattered to, so that all of us can come to a realization that the law, statutes, and commandments and the ways of the Most High are true, and that the Most High is true and real. This is how we are honored. This is how the Most High is honored. Okay? Because when the rest of the world sees that everything the prophets have been saying is for real, guess what happens? The Most High gets all the praise and the glory. And whoever didn't think he was real is going to feel like Boo Boo the Fool. Return for the sake of your servants, the tribes of your heritage. You see, we are servants of the Most High. We are but servants. Even though we are princes and princesses of the mighty power, we are still to live a life of servitude. So, one thing about servitude is that what your true Jew is doing to serve will not benefit and cover your need to serve. Whatever push-ups and sit-ups I do for my body will not work for your body. You can do push-ups and sit-ups, but you have to do them for yourself. When I eat my dinner, you will not get full. You have to eat dinner yourself. When I eat my carrots and sweet potatoes, that's going to benefit me and my health. But you have to eat your carrots and sweet potatoes too, if you want your health to be benefited. When I read Torah, Tanakh, Berashith, when I read the righteous and right rulings and judgments, statutes, and commandments, and feed myself and nourish my spirit with those righteous words, that is something that I'm doing within myself for my spiritual health. When I share those things, however, you can be fulfilled. That's the beauty of the word. When the word is shared and rightly dispensed, you too, as a hearer of that word and listener of that word, can be effectually affected positively as well. But to get the full spectrum of the health benefit of the word being taken into yourself, you also have to be a doer of the word. Brother D. Warner, shalom, shalom. I hope your Shabbat was filled with shalom and peace, brother. It's been a blessing to see you again. For sure, for sure. I hope all is well on the home front with you. Thank you for joining. Well, this live stream has reached its conclusion. And brother, if you just now tapping in, you could go ahead on and this live stream should be made available so that you can catch up. But we was talking about strong delusion and how it's contagious and how easily influenced we are when we have a propensity of mind to want to leave the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in favor of a secular life. And how if we don't maintain a Hebraic mindset today, and if we don't go back and leave this romanticized thinking alone, because that's what the romanticized thinking is, Roman antics. If we don't leave the places of our captivity alone and the mindsets that we have adopted from being there, and don't turn back to a Hebraic form of thought, then we will continue to be lost in the sauce. So that's what this lesson was all about. I hope it was a good discussion. I truly do. I truly do. There were many valid points brought up, and I hope for your sake and mine that you are edified through the word, for sure, for sure. Well, this is the conclusion of this lesson. It's your Ock True Jew, your bruh True Jew, tapping in with y'all the only way I know how. Raw, real, and uncut. You know, you haven't been seeing me too much doing in live streaming lately because I'm working on a lot behind the scenes right now. And I truly, truly hope that what is revealed and manifested through me in the coming days will be of absolute value to the family. Okay? Absolute value. I don't want to discuss what I'm doing just yet, but just know whenever your ox steps away from the platform, the YouTube, just know that he working on something for the family on behalf of the Most High by Shema Mashiach Yevashah, Waduak Hakodesh. Just know that it's something real tight in the works, okay? So look, this your Ock True Jew, your bruh True Jew, tapping in with y'all the only way I know how. Raw, real, and uncut. I pray that you all were edified with this lesson today by Shema Mashiach Yevashah Ruach HaKodesh. Until next time, Most High Mama Papa willing, I'll be back with another one. But until then, stay blessed, stay filled with shalom, and be a blessing to those who you meet, and may those who you meet be a blessing to you. All right, y'all. Gone. And shalom. All right, y'all.